We should be good. Let me just double check. Yes, we're live. So, with that being said, going on, welcome in. Um, I know it's been a few weeks. Before we do anything else, just want to give y'all the word of the day. Um, and today is James 1 verses 2 through 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Um, and I chose that as the verse of the day because our good friend, our good brother over here, Garrett, got the internship he was talking about. He's going on new adventures. He's advancing in things that he wants to do in this sports world. So we're very happy for him. And if you watch the video, if you're in the live or whatever, just say congratulations. We're very happy for you, Garrett. Um, and we both know where this can take us.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
But with that being said, really kind of just a freestyle week. I know we said we was going to talk about SEC Media Day, just because that's the most recent thing in college football. Um, I don't know who all you watched. I saw parts of Bama's. I know I watched all of Florida's. Um, I know I watched some of Kentucky's. I watched some of Arkansas's. A lot of the new coaches I watched. Um, so I don't know what all you watched, but obviously we're gonna talk about the main ones. Um, I'll start with Auburn because I feel like I always make you start with Bama, and that's kind of selfish. So I'll start with Auburn this time. And I don't have much to say, man. The more I hear Alex Golish talk, the more impressed I am with him. The more happy I am with a hire. Um, and just a reminder, halfway through last year, before we even knew if Hugh Freeze was going to be fired, I said I wanted Golish. So I've always been a Golish guy. So he never really had to win me over. I've always been a believer in him. Um, but the more I hear him talk, and I've listened to just about every piece of content I could find, just because I like to hear my new head coach speak, because it's actually something that I want to hear. Um, so every time I hear him speak, uh, he says something that I like, something that I think stands with what Auburn should be. Um, Something that raises the bar, raises the level of what we should expect this upcoming season and seasons afterwards. He said a few things to take away. One of the main things that I'm sure just about everybody has seen if you follow SEC Media Day is he doesn't set goals, he sets standards. Um, that means a lot to hear. Um, Especially the way he explained it, like goals are like New Year's resolutions. You hit your goals and then you just don't care anymore. Um, he's also said, taking it week by week, if you put a set goal, a set number on how many wins you want, you're gonna play to the level of competition. You're just gonna try to beat that team. You're not worried about being the best you. Not worrying about being the best team that you can be, and that's something that you know a lot of the elite head coaches would say. That's something a lot of Kirby Smarts, uh, Nick Saban, Pete Carroll back in the day. Um, it's in that company. It's stuff that they would say. And I watch a lot of podcasts. There's one podcast I watch that says you can't win games at the podium, but you sure can lose them. You sure can lose them at the podium. That's something I do believe. It makes sense. Obviously you can't win them just talking up there, but if you just go around jibber jabbering, it's kind of telling. So, um, I don't think there was anything to be concerned about from Alex Golish. I like the way Champ Anthony spoke. I listened to just about everything I could find on him. Alex McPherson, one of the only kickers, I think the only kicker at SEC Media Day, spoke really well. He told a lot of good stories. Um, my key takeaway was, when Alex Golesh first got signed, he said, "Look, I know you're going through this, Alex McPherson, but if you can't handle these workouts and you just need to go kick, I just need you to be a kicker." He said, "No, coach, I'm a football player. I play football for Auburn. I'm gonna do all of this," and that says a lot, knowing all of the things that he's going through, and having the strength to go through all of these workouts just like every other player. And he doesn't set an exception for himself. I like the way Byron Brown talked. I listened to just about everything I could from him. Um, Nothing concerning. Um, Sounds like his head's in the right place. He sounds very confident. Um, he kind of steps in the room with moxie, but not arrogance. That's something that I like out of my quarterback. Um, that's really it. I don't want to talk too much about it. One other key thing that I know Alex Golesh said that made headlines was uh, we have the talent to beat every team on our schedule. Um, so that says a lot to me what he thinks of this team and what they can accomplish. Um, I'm not gonna say that he does or he doesn't have that type of talent. Um, because that's gonna differ from everybody. But he's in that locker room every day, and I'm sure if he wouldn't put his team in a position to get clowned if he didn't believe in them. Because you lose 6 games, 7 games after you said that at SEC Media Day, that's gonna come back to haunt you. But he obviously has confidence in those guys to go out there and say that on the podium in the main room. So that says a lot to me.
Yeah, I didn't see a ton. I saw a good bit, but not as much as I normally do. Um, as far as like what you just said about Golish, what he said, yeah, that speaks volumes, for sure. Because if we want to go back, there was a guy representing Auburn last year. May or may not have been the head coach. He may or may not be the head coach anymore. Spoiler, he's not. He got fired because on this during SEC media days, he went and said the expectation for this team is to be able to compete in the SEC, and that was a load of baloney because that team was not good enough to compete in the SEC. Both talent wise, it was a very talented team, but not as talented as the teams right at the top of the SEC. But also coaching wise, continuity wise, um, overall as a team was not good enough. And because of that, it set really high standards, and the team went and lost like 4 straight games, and then they finally won one, I think, or something, and then they went and turned around and lost to Kentucky at home in what was one of the worst displays of football I've ever seen.
I
And he
want to
got
go
fired.
out on notice. That was I told you this when it happened. That was the lowest of lows as an Auburn fan. Not a lot
Yeah,
of Auburn people that I watch now talk about it for obvious reasons. I want it to be known. I never want
no,
that
yeah,
feeling again. And if you ever feel it again, whoever got us there needs to pack it. They
yeah.
shouldn't even finish the fourth quarter. They should be gone soon as the fourth quarter starts. That's bad. That's how bad it was.
Y- You're gonna be pleased to know that there's at least once a week where I think about that game and smile, just like shocked that that happened.
I
Um,
get PTSD, so I
yeah.
believe you.
But so that goes back to what you said. You can't win games at the podium, but you can lose them. I don't think necessarily Hugh Freeze lost games at the podium, but he definitely set them up for failure because that team was never competing for the
I
SEC last
think
year. It just
I
was
think
not.
I think he definitely lost his job at the podium.
Yeah, right, exactly. He set himself and the team up for failure, big time. And it was talked about like as soon as he said it, was like, why would he say that? Why on earth would he say that? Yeah, that's cool. That brings a lot of hype, but um, so who knows? A year from now, we may be talking and saying, "Man, Alex Golesh really set them up to fail by saying they had the talent profile to beat every team on the schedule last year. They had Bama. They go to Bama. They go to Georgia. They go to Tennessee. Like these are some talented teams." Um, so we'll see. I like the optimism. I'm all for like what else. Another thing that I would like to say is a lot of people take some of these things that coaches say. This is across sports, coaches and players, and they're like, "Why would he say that?" Like very clearly, this team's not good. What do you expect him to say? Like If you ask Ryan Williams what he expects for this season, and he's saying he wants to compete for a national title, what do you expect him to say? Oh,
Right.
I expect a 9-3 year. No, he's not going to say that. So a lot of these coaches, what they say gets taken out of context. All you have to do is just say, well, what else do you expect him to say? So I don't know exactly what the question was when Golish said that, but what else do you expect him to say? Golish is going to have confidence in his team. He's not going to overplay him, but he's also going to show his confidence. So even if you completely disagree with him, which is fine, understandable, they play a lot of really good teams this year. What else is he supposed to say?
Well,
Um,
I think before, like, I misconstrued what he said. It was more in the context of, if we're losing games, it's not because of the talent we have on the roster.
yeah,
It's because there's a different problem. That's
fair enough.
what he was getting at.
Yeah, I didn't see it, so I have no idea.
Right, right, right.
Um,
Which is why I
but
was just giving the extra context, because
yeah,
I didn't want it to make it seem like he said, "Oh, we're gonna go undefeated," because he didn't say that.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, just more in general, like you see these things all the time of these, like Jeff Levy said something about Kamario
Mario
Taylor, whatever
Taylor,
his name is.
yeah,
Yeah, who's a stud, by the way. Um, and people are like, I don't know, is he really that good? Yada yada. Well, he's good. But also, what else is Jeff Lebby supposed to say about
right.
his starting quarterback? So this just goes across the board in sports. So SEC media days, especially because it's the SEC, like it, love it, hate it, still the most followed and talked about college football conference, regardless of who wins the national championship. People take things out of context all the time. I guess I'm kind of tired of hearing about it, but I guess we'll talk about it. The whole thing about with Kalen DeBoer and like, hey, the expectation is to win national championship. What do you think about that? And people took that answer and completely ran with it. And it's so funny because Stephen A. Smith went and yapped. Look, I love Stephen A. I think it's hilarious. He's very entertaining. He does not know anything about college football, especially SEC football. He knows nothing. They force him to talk about it because it's his job. He doesn't talk about it because he wants to talk about it. He has to talk about it. He could care less about college football, which is fine, but he is very passionate when he talks about it, or at least pretends to be. But he said that's something Saban would never say. And it was funny because people went back and got clips and quotes from Saban saying literally verbatim almost the same exact thing because Saban was very process oriented. If you didn't see it, basically what DeBoer said was like, he's not worried about national championships. He knows that's the expectation. He knows that's the standard. He does not care. He is there to make his team the best possible team day in and day out. And people said, what do you mean? You're the coach of Alabama. You have to think about that. Saban would never say that. Saban literally said that, just changing up the words a little bit, time after time after time. That was Saban's whole thing. The process that people tried to replicate everywhere across the country. People try to replicate that in sports outside of football, in careers outside of football. You go to the freaking bank and you hear the managers talking about some version of Nick Saban's process. And that's literally what DeBoer reiterated. It's we are worried about the process. He didn't say the process, but we're worried about doing the little things day in and day out, not focus on the championship. If we do the little things every single day, we'll get to where we want to be, which is a championship. So just go ahead and get that over with because if you've listened to Saban talk for 30 minutes, if you just go on YouTube and find a compilation of Nick Saban best quotes and watch it for 15 minutes, you will hear about 20 different versions of what Kalen DeBoer said. But yeah, Nick Saban would never say that. Okay, cool. Well, if we say so. That's all I'm gonna say on that because I'm kind of tired of seeing stuff about it because it's just kind of stupid. I don't know. It's just it makes my head hurt just thinking about it because people that get paid a lot of money and just be yapping, dude, just don't know what they're
Like,
saying.
no ounce of research at all.
Yeah,
Look, as much as I hate to say it, I like listening to a lot of coach talk. Like, I like Josh Pate. He does a lot of one on ones, or
right.
obviously everybody has their own press conferences and does their own meetings. Every out of every coach of all time, guilty as charged as an Auburn fan, I've listened to Nick Saban talk the most.
Mhm.
Um, I've listened to him when he was at Michigan State, when he was in the Cleveland Browns, when he went to Toledo, when he was at Miami, LSU. I've heard it all. I've heard, and from the very beginning of his career, he's like, we're not here for the wins and the losses. We're here to make ourselves the best that we can possibly be day in, day out. Whether that's 7 wins, whether that's 12-0. That's how he talks. That's how he presents himself. And so to hear anybody say that his answer was wrong and say that Saban would never say that, just has never done any research whatsoever at all. Not even an ounce. Like they didn't even look up Saban media day one time. They didn't look up Saban press conference one time.
Yeah.
I mean, you go listen to him when they lost to Georgia. I mean, when they beat Georgia Southern. That's one of his more famous rants because they were running all over the field. I don't know the score, but I know they didn't compete. I know it wasn't close. I mean, it probably was closer than Comfort. I know that, but it's still Georgia Southern. And you see things like that, and it's just like, you just have to look up one of his most famous rants. That's it. Um, I don't know. I find that as a little disrespectful. Now, I will say I've seen different points of views about it. Like the way that he said it, the way that he answered it wasn't as confident or a different tone. Um, Now that's a whole different conversation within itself. Um, because I do think Kalen DeBoer, his demeanor and his tone has changed since he got to Bama. Um, but I think that's because he's waking up and realizing like, hey, this isn't Pac-12. This is the SEC. That's a whole different conversation within itself. But like you said, we've talked about it. We've seen plenty of things, and it's like, uh, I hate it. As an Auburn fan, I hate people saying something that dumb because it's just ignorant.
Yeah.
So uh, that's all I have to say about it. If you don't want to
Yeah,
talk
and
about
well, what I mean, I guess we'll kind of stay on subject, but a little bit different. When people kind of talk about how Kalen DeBoer talks, Kalen DeBoer is awkward in the media. He doesn't like talking to the media. I know, like, to maybe some people that only listen to him talk a couple times a year, and this is one of the instances they do. They're like, man, he just looks so uncomfortable, bro. He's like that all the time. And anybody that has a problem with that, I would like to point out the basketball coach there at Alabama, the dude that's probably going to have a statue built of him, the guy who's probably going to have the court named after him if he sticks around, Nate Oates, he's the exact same way. That man is incredibly awkward talking to the media. Um, if you know one thing about Kalen DeBoer, his mind is wired right for this job. He understands it. He wants this challenge. He knows how big of a deal it is. That there's no questioning that. Um, the only thing you could question, which I agree, is personality wise, is he built for it? Because some people just aren't built for it, personality wise, and that's not a bad thing. That doesn't say anything about how good of a football coach you are, whether your mind is wired the right way. He's got all those things. Is his personality right? We can have that conversation. That's perfectly justified. Um, but like mindset, he's got it all there. He's got it all right. He knows the expectations of the job. He took the job for a reason. He didn't take it with just this blind delusion that, oh, anybody can go into Alabama and win. He knew it was going to be a challenge. He knew what he was stepping into. And he wants that challenge. He loves that challenge. So I have the utmost confidence in him in that aspect and quality of a football coach aspect. I have no doubts about that. Personality, of course, has always been the question. Um, but all it takes is him winning one national championship, and all of a sudden, personality will never be an issue because then his personality will be the thing that wins. So, like, he's just got to prove it. He's got to get the benefit of doubt. He's got to find a way to win, um, or at least not get destroyed like he did. Um, and then people start giving him the benefit of the doubt and stop saying stupid things like, "Oh, Saban would never say that." No, no, Saban would. In fact, he did multiple times. Um, so we'll see. Like I had no problems with anything. I didn't listen to all of it, but I listened to most of it that specifically Kalen DeBoer said. And overall, like I was impressed. To me, he showed like Kalen DeBoer. He's never one to like. He's not John Summerall. He's not a straight shooter. John Summerall's like, we have these issues. We freaking suck here. We need to freaking fix it. Like that's John Summerall. Kalen DeBoer's a little bit more coach talk, a little bit more like that's how he always is. But um, people said the same thing previous year was like, well, he mentioned that they would like more quarterback consistency, but he didn't really emphasize it. He mentioned that penalties are an issue, turnovers are an issue, but he didn't really mention it. Well, Alabama went on to have an incredibly consistent quarterback. They were number one in the SEC in penalties, and they were top five in the entire country in turnover margin. He just doesn't scream it in your face. But the fact that he mentioned some of the issues that we all know need to be fixed and saying that they are a point of emphasis, albeit not screaming in your face like a John Summerall would, just tells me he knows there's a lot of urgency there, and so I'm confident some of those issues will be fixed. But you can only get so much from media days.
Yeah. And what you can get from media days is a lot of talk about, predictions and stuff like that from other sports media sources. A lot of ESPN guys, a lot of insiders were there. Um, and I can't believe what I'm about to say, but out of all the teams there, I felt like Alabama was the most disrespected. Um, I feel like the world is ready to give up on Kalen DeBoer, which is it's a weird thing. When Kalen DeBoer first got to Alabama, I didn't like it. Um, I mean, I liked it in the sense of, wow, this might ruin Alabama. But I as a hire, I didn't think it was a good hire. Um, After year one, that's how I felt. And then last year, he kind of when you saw not a Saban roster and not a Jalen Milroe, when it was more of, Ty Simpson was still Saban's, but this was Ty Simpson 2 years installed to that offense and what was going to go on. It looked a lot better. Um, Now the running was terrible. Um, the offensive line play could have been way better with the talent that they had there. Um, but like you said, he mentioned that, and he knows that those are things that need to be fixed. Alabama might be the biggest swing team that I heard in all SEC media day combos. Because I listen to a lot of interviews while they're going around. I think it used to be called Radio Row, but now it's called Digital Drive. Um,
Yeah.
I think that's dumb, but it doesn't matter. Uh, I heard a lot of convos of all these insiders and stuff talking about, Alabama could either be 10-2 or 7-5. You tell me a world where if Kalen DeBoer allows them to go 7-5, I promise you he won't have a job at the end of the year. Um, Not with the way he's recruiting right now, anyways. Um, but I don't see it. I wish I could see it. Don't get me wrong. I just I don't understand where the disrespect for Bama is coming. I just think a lot of people are out on Kalen DeBoer when he hasn't really given you a reason to. Year one, it wasn't the best, but year two, there was a lot of improvement. And for the half of football that Ty Simpson was completely healthy, he looked like a Heisman candidate. And if there's one thing that I'm going to give Kalen DeBoer credit on, is he knows quarterbacks. We've had this conversation. I'm never going to doubt whoever he puts out on that field. It could be a true freshman. It could be a guy that's waited 4 years and he's on his fifth year and he's a redshirt senior and it's his only time that he's going to start. If that's what he thinks is best, I think it's going to work. I'm never going to doubt Lane Kiffin and his ability to get a good quarterback. That's Lane Kiffin. He knows what he's doing. So I think Kalen DeBoer is one of those. So I've heard a lot of conversation about, well, you don't know who's going to start. Is the run game going to be better? Can they block? And I don't know. It seems really weird to me because Kalen DeBoer has not given you any reason for you to feel that way yet. And it feels like the whole world wants him to fail. And it's the first time I feel like in my lifetime, which let me be careful when I say this. A lot of people have wanted Bama to fail, but not for the reasons that they want DeBoer to fail. A lot of people wanted Bama to fail because they had Nick Saban and they were the best college football team year in and year out, and they were this unstoppable force of dominance. Now, now they want him to fail just because they don't like the guy, I guess. I don't know what it is. It's very weird. I've never seen it like this. So it's definitely strange. Um, and on this show, I try to keep it as unbiased as possible. So I don't know if you've seen any of that, but I have, and I think it's really weird.
Well, it makes me wonder: is it really Kalen DeBoer? Is it just where he's at? I would say if he was still at Washington, people would have no problem with Kalen DeBoer. Um, Look, he's never. If you would have told us a year ago that Alabama, the three main points in the offseason, last offseason, were quarterback consistency, penalties, and turnovers. If you would have said that we would have a Heisman contender at quarterback, as until he started getting banged up, we'd be number one in the SEC in penalties. That's a stat like a lot of people forget about. Alabama was like, I think they might have been dead last in the SEC in penalties. They seriously went from dead last to first. Um, and then turnover margin, finished top five in the country last year in turnover margin. If you would have told us that last SEC media days, that all that would happen this year, I'm not kidding. People probably would have said, okay, well, Alabama's going to go win the national championship. Now other issues presented themselves, but Kalen DeBoer has gone 3 for 3 in off-season. We need to fix these. We need to fix these and get them right. He's gone 3 for 3. He's fixed them at a really high level. Now, this year's going to be a lot harder because you don't have the talent on the offensive line. The running back room is very talented but young. Um, so we'll see. Um, the defensive line has a lot of transfers. Um, so they got to gel. Same thing with the offensive line. So we'll see. But I don't. Here's the thing. I don't care what he says about the offensive line. I don't care what he says about the running game. I don't care what he says about the defensive line. You know why? Because I saw him completely overhaul the offensive line. I saw him completely get a new offensive line coach and a new tight end coach, a tight end coach that is used to working with tight ends in pass blocking schemes or run blocking schemes. Excuse me. I saw him go get a new wide receiver coach. I saw him go get tight end and offensive lineman out of the portal. I saw him go get extra size on the defensive side of the football, specifically the front seven. So he can go do all the raw stuff on SEC Media Days. He doesn't have to. I saw him go address the issues personnel wise. Whether or not it works out, who knows? But I've seen him try. He literally overhauled the entire front seven on the defensive side. He overhauled the entire offensive line. He brought in completely new guys in the running back room, hired all new position coaches on all sides of it. So if it doesn't work out, it wasn't from a lack of trying. And when I saw him try a year ago, it worked to perfection. So I don't expect it to work to perfection, but I expect it to drastically improve this year, one way or the other. So we'll see. I think people are refusing to give him the benefit of the doubt when I think he's earned just at least a little bit benefit of the doubt with what he's done throughout his career. That's all.
No, I agree. I just thought it was really weird. And I can't believe that I would come out and say it, but that's how weird it is to me. Like I feel like I have to say something about it because it is strange and I don't know. We know how the media is. Um,
But yeah.
but two more things that I wanted to talk about SEC Media Day for sure was I did want to talk about a little bit about John Summerall, and I wanted to talk about a little bit about the Greg Sankey comments about the SEC potentially pulling out from the NCAA. Um, just because there's a lot of chatter around it. So I don't know which you would rather talk about first. I don't know if you saw any of the John Summerall stuff.
I did not see the John Summerall stuff, but first I would like to talk about the SEC potentially pulling away. Uh, Really, first I would just like to talk about some of the misconceptions.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I'm right there with
so
you. That's why I bring it
first
up.
of all, there is a little bluff there. There's a little bit. The SEC does not want to do this. They might feel like they have to, but they don't want to. And they are definitely trying to play their cards because they're trying to get the NCAA to wake up and do something, which is justified, by the way. Another thing is the SEC this, SEC that. So what Big Ten fans that are saying this need to realize is the SEC's not doing this alone. I
No,
promise you, the only reason the
at
Big
all.
Ten is not coming out and saying the exact same thing is because there's these things in America called antitrust laws. Basically, they're to where you can't establish a monopoly. And if the SEC and the Big Ten both came out and said this exact same thing, they immediately, like Congress and all these other like lawyer types would be involved. So the Big Ten, whether you like it or not, even the Big Ten executives know the SEC has the most power still, regardless of what fans think. The SEC, like, they get the most viewership, they pack the most stadiums, yada yada. top to bottom, like money wise, still
Which
by far
that's
the
a
richest.
fact. Greg Sankey came out and
Yes,
said that
literally.
that
Google's free.
SEC football was the second most watched sport in all of America last year, behind
Yeah,
the NFL only.
yeah. So, like, there's reasons why the Big Ten is just staying quiet and letting the SEC do this. It's not because they want the SEC to embarrass themselves. It's because they're in on it and they know they just have to stay quiet right now. So anybody saying SEC this, SEC that, go look at your shirt. You see that Big Ten team on your shirt? Yeah, they're in on it too. I hate to break it to you. They are hand in hand in conversation with the SEC. They just, for legal reasons, can't come out and say anything yet. So they're letting the big dogs, the biggest dog, I should say, because the Big Ten are also big dogs, but they're letting the biggest dog, the loudest dog, do all the talking, all the yapping. Let them do their bluff, hopefully. Um, so that's just the misconception I would like to say. It's I promise you the SEC would not be actively pursuing this if the Big Ten wasn't right there behind them, hiding behind the SEC, saying, "Yeah, you go first. Go first."
What what's funny to me about it is you don't even have to do any research. You don't have to read anything, you don't have to look anything up, you don't have to watch any videos. Just from a common sense standpoint, you truly believe the SEC by itself would leave and do its own thing. That makes no sense for the SEC. Like it from a common sense standpoint, they would that would make no sense for them. They would be losing money um all the way around. I mean, it would just automatically fall off if it was just the SEC and whoever won the SEC championship was the automatic quote unquote national champion of their world. It would make no sense. Um, you also got to think that ESPN would be on the SEC side. You think the Big Ten's not going to follow ESPN? You think they're not going to follow those Disney
Yeah,
deals? They're going to make
it's all
the
about the
money.
money.
They're going to make the money. Like the whole reason they talk about the expansion and the transfer portal is because of the money, right? That's why SEC and Big Ten and all these other Power Four conferences, well, all conferences really don't want all that extra stuff. And while they're threatening to leave because of these lawsuits and the transfer portal and the way it's been handled, they're still going to make their money. So don't get that twisted at all. Any opportunity they find a way to make their agenda fit and still make the money, they're gonna go with. Um, so if you truly think the SEC is gonna do it alone and it's because the SEC hasn't won a championship in 3 years, just get a life, bro. I don't know what to tell you, dude. That's a low reach. I mean, it's lazy. It's pitiful. I mean, I don't know,
Just
but
wrong.
I've made it very clear.
Actually, wrong.
We've both made it very clear we're just sports fans and fans of greatness and good competition. I watch all sports. I watch, MMA. I watch boxing from here time to time. I watch the World Cup this year. Um, I watch MLB playoffs. I watch NBA. I just like competition. So I see it from a different point of view. Um, but if it means that much to you, I'm here to tell you that you're just wrong. You're just wrong. It's
Yeah.
that's not how it's gonna work.
I think it's just like because people see a headline and they immediately like just don't think. Um, th- Now as for what I will say, as far as like the actual reality behind it, personally, I think it'd be bad for college sports for the SEC and the Big Ten or whoever to do this. What I'm really hoping is that they're just saying the NCAA is going to be like, hey, well, what would it look like? If you left, what would it look like? And the SEC would basically use it as an excuse, or the Big Ten, whoever, to basically show what they want the NCAA to do to kind of get a control of this. Which I think they just want set rules and someone to enforce them. They want somebody definitively in charge, somebody who actually knows the sport, not some president of the NCAA who's over all sports. I think they want commissioners of each and every sport who work together to make the best product available for everybody to where money can be distributed a little bit more evenly to like based on performance. um, the SEC, like, they want to make the most money, because they feel like they have the best conference and yada yada, vice versa, whatever. Um, like they want some form of structure, some sort of rule base that has to be followed. That's all they're threatening. And they're basically saying, and I think there's a real legitimacy here, is if the NCAA does not step up, that, hey, look, we don't have to stay here and do this. We can go do our own thing. Like that's not an issue. We make enough money. We will just go do our own thing, which is a real possibility. I hope it doesn't come to that. All it takes is the NCAA saying one word: help. Hey, we've lost it. What do we need to do to fix it? All the NCAA needs to do, and I agree with, is say, hey, overall, we are a really good thing for college sports. We're a really good thing for student athletes across all sports, football, all the way down to gymnastics, whoever. But we need to get this situated. We need to find a way to rein this in. And I think the SEC and the Big Ten, all the conferences, all the athletic directors would be willing to work with them. The problem is the NCAA refuses to come out and say there's an issue. They know there's an issue, but they're like, ah, no, we got it. And they don't have anything. All the NCAA needs to do is just say, help, we failed, but we still think this needs to be a thing. So let's figure it out. Get all the best brains, get all the commissioners, get the athletic directors, get Nick Saban, get Josh Pate, get whoever the heck you want in a room and figure it out. They refuse to do that, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, I agree. I really hope it doesn't come to anything like that. I can only see a world where it either ruins the sport that I love most, or it just doesn't, succeed that they want it to. Um, but the SEC and Big Ten have all the leverage. They have
Yeah,
literally every leverage imaginable. So I do think it's only a matter of time before the NCAA breaks. Um, I think at some point they're gonna have to give in. Um, it's just knowing that there's a chance that they don't. It is very terrifying to me. Because this is a sport. I know I just got done saying I just love competition. There's nothing on this planet. There's no sport that could ever compete with college football. So I hope it doesn't get ruined. It's the best sport in the world. I don't care what you say. Um, so let's hope and pray that they find a way to figure it out. But it probably nothing will probably change for another 2 or 3 years, if not longer.
yeah,
So it's definitely not something that's in the front of our minds, but it is something to keep your mind on. Um, I don't care what the NCAA has to do. I just hope that they do it. Um,
yeah.
which the SEC feels they deserve more money. Um, they bring in all of that money, give them more money. Um, I think that's
Well, yeah,
that
well, I think,
that's the root of it, though. I feel like that's the real problem is all of the money. Uh,
yeah.
we just
I think
can't
it's
keep
less
up.
about I think it's less about the SEC actually making more money because they get their money from the TV rights deals, and that has nothing to do with the NCAA. I think it's more so like like a set of rules and a set criteria for like how you get into the postseason. Um, but I think it's very intentional the timing behind Greg Sankey just going ahead and saying it now with the bill that's going through the Senate or the House, whatever it is. I don't fully understand all that, but it's very intentional, and it's an idea of like, hey, something's got to be done, and it's not being done. Um, with the amount of legal loopholes that are gonna have to um, they're gonna have to get past moving forward, it would take years, and they know that. But he's definitely saying it intentionally to try to hopefully wake someone up. Um, but it's I think I mean we could have a whole episode on how I think college sports should be run, but there are a lot of things that do need to be done. Um, and hopefully this is the first domino that needs to fall to get there. Unfortunately, money is the main driving force, like you said, um, and that corrupts things a lot. Um, as we see in every industry, when money is the dominating factor, the industry suffers. Or the industry does really good, but the actual product suffers. I mean, you just think about like politics. You think about like medical stuff, like and sports, when money gets in the way, it just ruins everything for the fans or the consumers. Um, so hopefully, like we can find a way to maximize money while also keeping college football the sport we love, which, like me and you agree, is the greatest sport in the on the history of this planet.
Yeah, and I don't know. I listen to when it comes to stuff like this. I like to listen to Kirby Smart because I think he's probably the most clear headed and level headed. That's an active coach on
Active coach
the
for sure.
on or in the platform that has the ability to go out there and say something. So I like a lot of his proposals and a lot of the ways that he thinks, and so just hearing that it's not just Greg Sankey, you know, putting it on the table, and that there are other coaches in this league that have their own rhyme and reason for feeling a certain way about it. Definitely makes me feel better. Um,
Mm.
because I know there's underlying reasons that actually make sense to me, the viewer. To me, the football enjoyer. Like, okay, so with all these lawsuits and with all this NIL, this is how that affects it, and because of this, we can't do that, and because of that, this happens. And so when I hear that stuff, it makes a lot more sense for me to be like, oh, okay, I understand why this is a big deal, and I understand why these things need to change, other than just the grand scheme of money. So
Yeah.
um, that's this is kind of me telling, if you're watching and you don't fully understand it, go listen to some of the things that Kirby Smart has said um, about it in some of his interviews and conversations with people, because he puts it in a way for me that I understand, and I'm in a line with a lot of the things that he says about it. So um, if you're confused, if you don't know anything else other than what we've already said, go listen to Kirby. Great guy to listen
Yeah.
to.
When in doubt, yeah. When in doubt, go listen to Kirby. That's not bad advice.
It's not. It's not.
Um,
He is a
but
very smart head coach.
I don't know. I look. I know something's got to be done, and I know that there's a lot of misconceptions around exactly um, what Greg Sankey came out and said. So I'm glad we were able to address some of those because it's an important topic. Um, but there's definitely a lot of misconceptions out there about it, especially coming from our neighbors to the north that think they have nothing to do with this, when in reality,
They're right
you're,
there. You're
yeah,
there, buddy. Whether you
yeah,
like it or
yeah,
not, if it were to happen, you'd be right there, buddy.
yeah, yeah. I hate to break it to you. The Big Ten commissioners, some athletic directors knew exactly what Greg Sankey was going to talk about. They knew because they wanted him to. I find that funny, but also kind of annoyed at it because, like, come on,
It just
like
goes with a lot of things that we've said this episode. Ignorance. It's just
the
ignorance and the failure to think.
it's the Big Ten and the SEC. Like, they think they hate each other, and they certainly want to be better than the other one. But they are best
Right,
friends.
but when it comes
They
to
love each
business,
other.
they are hand in hand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When it comes to
They
getting that
don't.
money, they are with each other every step of the way.
Yeah, yeah. So they have the same priorities, and they both know how to get their way. And they know to get their way, they got to be buddy buddy with the other one.
I mean,
Competition is fierce, but they like this.
when you just take a step back and think about it, it's not that hard of a concept
No,
to grab. I mean, these are the best two conferences in all of college football. Um, and both conferences from top to bottom, every AD, every head coach, every everybody involved. College football is their life. College football is their
yeah.
income. College football is what they live, breathe, and wake up for to see tomorrow. So to think that they wouldn't be cooperating on this, um, it it's just kind of insane.
To bring it to like a world example, like Coke and Pepsi are like an example, like corporate wise, like big rivals. But like you go to a grocery store, you go look in the coolers, you know what's gonna be sent right by each other? Coke and Pepsi, right next to each other. I work at a grocery store, right next to each other. That's by design. They want to be right next to each other. They want to sell more than the other one, but they want to be right next to each other. Now, there's a lot of psychological reasons behind that and stuff, but it's the same idea. Just because you think they're competing with each other, which they are, they know that they need to use each other so they can both make more money. Same thing for the SEC and the Big Ten. Same exact thing.
Yeah. I don't have any more on that. Um, I'm glad we did talk about it because it is kind of crazy.
Yeah. What were you saying about John Mateer?
No, Summerall. I did want to talk a little
Oh,
bit
John
about
Summer. Oh,
Summerall.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I watched his full SEC media day. Um, and just to be clear, he has already done some weird things since he's got to Florida. He is a strange guy. Um, look, I know people who went to Troy when he was the head coach, and I follow people and listen to other podcasters and radio talk shows that were at Troy when he was at Troy. Um, the weird thing to me is everybody is saying he's a completely different person. I don't know if that's because he takes this job like in a different sense because it's the SEC. You're now competing for championships. Um, I don't know if it's that. Which I'm not saying his intensity has changed because it hasn't. Just the way that he acts around people in media is more so what I was referring to. Um, there were some things that were weird, but I didn't really, you know, make as big a deal out of as I saw some other people. Like I heard some people saying like he was saying a lot of I's and me's and stuff like that, and it which I don't agree with. I understand why that would be a problem for you, but I don't think it was a big a deal. Um, there were some things that were something else that was made a big deal about that I can't remember, but there was one thing that was made, that was pointed out and probably made bigger deal than it should have been that I did think was extremely weird. When he was up on the podium, somebody's phone went off and he looked dead at the dude and said, "I ought to throw that." Dead serious with a straight face and everything. Said, "I ought to throw this podium at you. If you was in my team meeting, I'd kick you out." Well, guess what, John? This isn't your team meeting. These are people who travel the country to come see you and talk to you and write about you. I don't. I just thought that was very weird because that's one of those things that was pointed out when I heard people say that's he would have never done that at Troy. Um, so I don't know. It's a weird thing, and look. It's July. We're still in the off season. I'm only talking about it because Auburn was supposed to get John Summerall. We didn't get John Summerall, and now he's doing weird things. So I'm gonna make a big deal about it so I can have something to talk about on my podcast. Let me just make that clear. Um, but I do think it was weird. Um, he did say a lot of weird things. Uh, but being dead serious and saying you should kick somebody out and embarrassing them in a room full of their peers, I thought was extremely strange. And I felt like if he was the Auburn head coach, people would be talking about that. But at the same time, all I've seen on social media is a lot of love for John Summerall. Um, Sounds like he was a home run hit to everybody else. And I'm not saying he did bad or anything. Um, I thought he said some things that I agree with. I like his intensity. I like his approach to certain things. I like how blunt and straightforward he is. Um, I'm just worried about the authenticity um, of him now being in Florida. Knowing knowing for a fact that there are people that I know and trust that covered him or saw him or was around him at Troy that said that's completely different. Um, so just thought I'd bring that up. It's a little weird. Not that big a deal, but middle of the off season. Ah, I'm gonna reach for the stars.
Look, dude, I freaking love John Summerall. He Like, I mean, as you like progress and get different jobs and whatnot, I mean, I guess you kind of got to carry yourself differently. Um, I think he was a little bit more like he is now at Tulane, like he high intensity guy. Um, I also think you got to adapt at least a little bit to the program you're going to. And Florida's kind of a program that really wants that because they just hired a G5 coach before, and the guy wasn't like that. And it's kind of a program that wants that intensity right now, that wants to say, hey, we want to freaking win here, which is fair. Um, I love like John Summerall, his brutal honesty, his intensity. I love. I hope it amounts to success on the football field because if not, he will be torn to pieces, right? Personally, I'm glad Auburn didn't get John Summerall. That could backfire. Who knows? We'll see. I don't know. Neither him or Golish has coached a single game at their respective schools. So we'll see. Personally, I would rather him be at Florida because I'm okay with Florida being good. I'm not okay with Auburn being good. And that could backfire. Who knows? We'll see. Only time will tell. Um, as far as like, I don't necessarily think he embarrassed the guy that's phone went off because he kind of said it with a smile on his face. Um, he was like, the dude phone went off and he was like, if this was a team meeting, you'd be kicked out right now. And everybody was like, ha ha. He was like, y'all lucky I'm not gonna throw this freaking podium right now. Like that's kind of like what he said. And it was kind of funny. I think most people found it funny. I don't think people found it to be all that serious. I don't think he certainly meant it to be serious. Like I don't think John Summerall was actually gonna throw the podium at SEC Media Days. I don't think he would have in a million years. Um, but I think it's funny. I don't is it more funny or more intensity or a little bit of mix of both? Probably a little bit of mix of both. Um, look, me personally, I was thinking about it. I'm gonna say that was real quiet. All I'm gonna say is, if this intensity amounts to success on the football field, should there be a job opening at my favorite school, I would be perfectly fine them looking his way. But like he'd have to have success first because it's Alabama. You can't not have success and get to Alabama. So, but it's got to it's got to turn into success because I love that intensity. I grew up watching Nick Saban. Nick Saban is almost as intense as they get. John Summerall does take that to a whole new level. Of course, John Summerall's a little crazy. Like he's maybe he's spending a little too much time with Florida man. Maybe that's the issue, kind of turning into Florida man a little bit. But I'm a fan of John Summerall. We'll see if it actually works out to like the success of the football team. Like I said, if not, he will be torn to shreds because he does say some things that could backfire, some weird things, as you would say. Um, so we'll see. Um, but I'm rooting for him. I hope he does good. Um, mainly partially because I think it'd be hilarious if he did really good and Auburn was like this close, like 5 minutes away from hiring him, and then Florida came and snagged him. That would just be funny. But also because I'm a fan of the intensity. I like raw intensity. That's one of those things. Like Kurt Cinetti is just very raw. He's himself, unapologetically himself. I think John Summerall's probably like that. We'll see how it plays out, but I can appreciate that.
The other thing that I was thinking about that he said that was made a bigger deal than it probably should have been, which, like I said, that's what I'm doing right now, actively, currently, purposefully, and I'm letting you know that I'm doing it actively, purposefully. But the other thing was he did take a quote unquote shot at Auburn. Um, I believe it was a shot at Auburn. I don't know what else he would have been talking about. When he was talking about things, he was talking about, the Lane Kiffin situation and saying he was like, nobody was going to tell me how to do my job. Nobody's going to tell me that I had to leave Tulane or I had to do things a certain way. Uh, you know, if that's the job I was going to take, I'm going to do it my way. And some guys that I listen to and watch on Auburn media make that a big deal because you know because of the DJ Durkin stuff, and I'm sure that you know we wanted our coach to hurry up and be hired so we could get into the transfer portal and get our team formed for next year, which is completely understandable from our point. And so, when you know that stuff happened on our side, and that's what we were telling him, and then he goes and says that at SEC Media Day, it's definitely a shot. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't really care. Um, If you don't want to do it our way, fine. Cool. You have every right to feel that way. That's why you got the Florida job because they let you do it your way. Um, but me personally, um, I personally feel like it was a good thing we missed on Summerall to get goalish. I think it's like a blessing in disguise type of thing. I still have questions about Summerall. Um, because like you said, you could have the attitude all you want. You have to prove it on the field. But to me, Summerall, like in my mind on how it works, he has less success than Golish because he hasn't been, you know, as high up on a totem pole as Golish has been at an SEC school. Like he's never been the best defense in the SEC as a DC, while Golish has been the best offense in the SEC as an OC. Which that's completely different opinion. That's not why I feel the way I feel about Golish being a secret or a surprise in disguise, whatever. But I feel like just Golish's attitude and the way that Golish is, from everything that I've seen, it perfectly fits what Auburn needs. What Auburn needs, not what John Cohen needs, not what these penny pinchers that are giving us our money needs. What the University of Auburn, what the fandom needs, it's what we need. I don't think we could take another loudmouth, straightforward coach that's going to say all of this and give all of this hope and give all of this promise, and we don't know if he's going to succeed. We've tried that with Harson. We've tried that with Freeze. They said everything in the book, and look at where it got him. So now you have John Summerall getting up this, and he's loud and he's rowdy. He's rambunctious. He's bold. He says what he says. I just didn't think Auburn needed that. I think it's a better fit where he went and a better fit where Golish is. Um, so I'm with you. I'm happy we got Golish. I'm happy we didn't get Summerall because if I had to see all of that as an Auburn fan and hear all about it, like other people making a big deal about it, I'd be like, "Oh Lord, what are we getting ourselves into? Not again! I can't do this again." So, um, yeah, like I said, I'm making a big deal about it just so I can have something to talk about. And he was our head coach until the last 5 minutes. Um, but yeah, I'm still excited that we got Golish. I wouldn't trade him, even if you know if Golish fails. I said what I said. There was reasons I felt the way that I felt. I had my opinions, this, and that. So that's all I have to
Yeah,
say, really.
yeah. I think we'll see. Only time will tell. Um, as far as like whether or not that was a jab at Auburn or not, I think it was probably a half jab at Auburn and a half jab at Lane Kiffin himself. Actually, there was definitely probably a little bit of that too. But he can. There could be a jab thrown in multiple directions. So,
Yeah,
um, which is understandable. Like I get what he's saying, especially because Auburn does kind of have the history of being a little over controlling, at least on the booster side of things. In the past, there's definitely been an issue. Everybody knows it. It's not a very well kept secret around there. Allegedly, that issue has been fixed. We'll see. Who knows?
I will
Um,
say, um, Hugh Freeze, a guy who did not succeed, a guy who did not live up to his promises, a guy that did run his mouth and did not back it up, who was fired by Auburn, said that Auburn let him be him, let him do
yeah,
it his way, was completely hands off. So if that tells you anything you need to know, um, look, after I can only imagine the things that were said to Hugh Freeze and for him to still come out and say stuff like that after being fired, um, I believe any problem that was ever there is currently fixed.
yeah. Definitely still the same people around, but now that they can openly spend their money, probably doing things a little differently. Um, as is the case everywhere. Um, but we'll see. So I don't necessarily, like you're saying, I don't necessarily blame him for wanting to do things his exact way from the moment he got to the door. I don't blame him. I don't blame Auburn for wanting to ensure that DJ Durkin would stay around. Like both, like there, two things can be true. I don't blame Summerall for how he felt. I don't blame Auburn for how they felt. Um, and then they might not have just been a good fit, and that could have been a point of contention from the very beginning because somebody would have had to give in. If Summerall was adamant didn't want Durkin around, he wanted to run the defense himself, and Auburn was adamant they wanted Durkin around, somebody's going to give in and somebody's going to be unhappy. And that's already going to create a friction point. So maybe it's for the best. Like you were saying, maybe it's for the best. Maybe it just wouldn't have been a good fit. And although maybe Summerall's a better coach, maybe Golish is the better fit. Who knows? Whatever you want to say. Well, only time will tell who's truly a good fit where and who's truly the better coach. Um, so we'll see. And we may never know exactly how it would have been if he went to Auburn, but he could go on to have a lot of success at Florida, and maybe he'd have been fired at Auburn in 3 years. Very real possibility. We'll never truly know. But it is an interesting conversation to have, and one that will definitely be had for years to come, especially if he has success at Florida. So we'll see.
Um, More on SEC media days, kind of just in a broad category or in a broad conversation. Obviously, there's a lot of new hires, um, and a lot of them have a lot of confidence. A lot of them have more confidence than others and are more bold to say things. Um, I didn't, I don't think there's going to be many of these coaches that came to the SEC that do fail. Um, I think most of these guys are going to be successful. But there is one guy that did one thing, and he said one thing that really, really deterred me from thinking he can be super successful. Um, I think, you hear Will Stein say, what's going to be the reason Kentucky, improves or they're better. And he says, me. I don't have a problem with that. You bet on yourself to take this job. You know, you feel that way about yourself. By all means, say it. John Summerall, he says a lot of bold predictions. Golish has had, a few things to say himself. Um, there's one. And I thought I liked him at first. Arkansas hired Ryan Silverfield. He did pretty solid in conjuring up a recruiting class. Um, did pretty solid in the transfer portal. We get to SEC media days, and this goes back to what I said. What I've heard and grown to believe is you can't win games on the podium, but you can certainly lose them. Ryan Silverfield goes on the podium and asks, I don't know the question, so it is out of context. So maybe the context would have helped. But he said, um, yada yada yada. But oh wait, what's my record against SEC head coaches? And he's like 5-1. Dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're gonna play 9 SEC coaches this year. You have one of the hardest schedules in the country. That does not matter. When you can have confidence in yourself, like Will Stein did, and said, me, I think I'm the reason that we're going to be successful. But I don't like when somebody comes out and says, hey, look at me. I'm better than everybody else because of this record. I don't like that. I don't know how you feel about that. And once again, this is just point of conversation. SEC media days. I'm just making the most out of what I can. But to go up there and say, "Hey, pull up, pull up my schedule. I mean, pull up my record. I'm 5-1. They can't tell me nothing, dude." Most of those wins came from people who just signed their SEC contracts along with you. So calm down. Let's take a second. And then on top of that, like I said, it doesn't matter. You're gonna play more games than you have ever in this one season. So I don't know. I don't like when people go out on a branch like that and say stuff like that. But I just felt it was really weird and strange. And when you say stuff like that, you don't put yourself in a spot to succeed, especially when you know it's going to be a super, super, super tough schedule.
Yeah. Real fast before I comment on that, we got a couple comments.
I
Richard
knew you was
saying
gonna say something, man.
Bama is so lucky to get Gullish at home. Year one. Not bold. Anytime Alabama goes to Auburn, it is terrifying. Helen Keller could be the coach of Auburn. My only response: talk to me after you haven't lost three straight there, and then we'll. It's coming. It's coming. Don't get me wrong. It's coming, but probably not the right time to say that. But he also said, which I actually really like what he said. He said, I
Yeah,
think the Summerall Goldish thing really is more a question of whether like Napier or Freeze left more behind. Um,
I would
True.
agree for year one.
Yes, for year one for sure. Um, Especially considering like Auburn really got hit by the portal on the offensive side of the football, but defensively
But
there was a
defense,
lot.
they
There's a
look
lot there to work with.
we look
Same
really
thing in
good.
Florida.
Yeah,
Everything in Florida is still pretty well intact. Um, so like, sorry to Auburn fans, like I think there was more left behind at Florida, especially after the transfer portal. Only time will tell. But that's a really good point. Year one, somewhere else probably in a better position to have a better year, but um, as time goes on, um, that could totally flip. And so this year, probably not the best representation. It could be, but probably not going to be the best representation of whatever is to come to the future. So I definitely do agree with that. Mom means keep the comments coming. Um, we like responding to them.
yeah, it's definitely a free for all show, a freestyle show. So anything you got to say, let us know. Um, yeah, I personally think that Golish has more, but I'm biased, of course. So I just like I've gone out on a limb and said DJ Durkin could put me and you, Anderson and Garrett, on that football field, and he's gonna find a scheme. He's gonna drop a play. He's gonna have something that works defensively. And we've seen for 2 years straight that with youth, with plug and play, with first round draft picks, it doesn't matter. Golish, not Golish, Durkin, the Durkin defense is gonna be good. I
Yeah,
will say if the offense is what it's planned up to be and it operates smoothly, which obviously there's going to be bumps on the road, but um, more points are going to be allowed. But I do think more takeaways are going to come with this goalish defense. I think we're going to allow more points just with the pace of offense that goalish wants to run. I think they were the second quickest, like the second fastest team when it comes to up tempo last year. UCF was so. Uh, we'll see how that works out. But I think that'll put Durkin in a position to be more aggressive and want his players to make more plays and go out and get it.
yeah. Um, you meant USF, not UCF.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Which Polish has played
but
there too, or coached there too.
yeah, yeah, true. I didn't. Yeah, that is true. But again, he said Napier. Yeah, I agree. Napier left more behind, but that is a really big talking point. The fact that Auburn does get Florida at home this year.
And it's a
You need
night
to go
game.
back and yes, you need to go back and watch our previous episode. You can skip around and find it. To we predicted Auburn's season. He Anderson had Auburn beating Florida, of course. I actually have Florida beating Auburn, even though it is a home game for Auburn. I know that's bold. I don't feel great about it, but that is true. Maybe in the end, like Florida could have the better year, but Auburn still does win because that is a home game.
I
If it was at Florida, I think more people would probably be higher on Florida winning that game. Um, but I like that you brought that up because that is, I would say, like heading into the season was my most underrated game on the SEC schedule, but it's starting to get more traction now that people are realizing how big of a game that could end up being. Um, but yeah, for sure.
I definitely
Auburn
think
is lucky they get them at home.
I think that's Auburn's biggest game of the season, without a doubt. You lose that game, and then it's like, okay, well, you can't beat Florida at home. How do you find a way to beat Tennessee away? How do you find a way to beat LSU? How do you find a way to beat Georgia? How do you have that momentum? I mean, you have a lot more questions if you lose to Florida, but if you beat Florida, then that gives you the confidence to go into Tennessee and say, maybe we do belong. Then that gives you the hope and the confidence that you can start 5-0. Then you go into a bye week. Oh, we're 5-0. We're fresh. We just had a bye week, a whole extra week to prepare for Georgia. What can we do? And I'm not going to say they're going to beat Georgia, but Auburn has had worse teams and competed with Georgia up until the very end. So who's to say that that doesn't, you know, be the swinging factor? I when you talk about momentum and what it means for the season, I think Florida is the biggest game on the schedule for Auburn. Um,
Yeah.
if you can just, and this is based off predictions and odds, if you just win the games that you're supposed to win, you go 7-5. But one of those games is Florida. You're predicted to win that game because you're the home favorite. It's a night game in Jordan Hare, and there's somewhat similar talent. Um, so you can't win that game, you're going to find it a lot harder to win 7 or 8 games. You win that game, and it's almost like, well, how do you not get at least 7 games? So it'll be definitely a really important game. I know where I'll be. Um, I know I'll be in my home. I know I'll be tuned in. I know there won't be any other side channels going on. I know my phone will be on Do Not Disturb, ready to see what Alice Golish has brought to the plains.
Uh, yeah. Solely positioning. Like that game is week 3. I mean, that is such an important week, especially like Auburn does not have a guaranteed win week 1. Like there is a path to lose week 1 versus Baylor. Like that's you're not playing Georgia Southern. You're not playing UAB. No disrespect to either one of those teams. You're not playing an FCS school. You are playing a Power 5 opponent with a former 5-star at quarterback, with a head coach that has won a conference championship. Like you're not playing a bunch of bums. Um, so, like, if you dare I say you lose that game and you lose to Florida, you are in deep trouble starting out the year. You could turn it around, but you're in deep trouble. So solely for positioning and the storylines, what it means going forward throughout the rest of the season, I agree. It probably is Auburn's most important game of the year.
Oh, which I will say when I watched a lot of this SEC Media Day stuff, surprisingly, a lot of the guys that aren't Auburn biased have them going 8-4 or 7-5. So, um, and Florida being one of those key wins, really that 8-4 or the 7-5 is just if somebody thought that they would start 5-0 and beat Tennessee or not. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and this is once again, I'm obviously biased. Um, but the more I hear Golis speak, and the more that I see the confidence in the team, um, I feel better about the ceiling of the team, um, and the floor of the team. Right now, I know obviously we agree there is a path for Baylor to win, but right now in my mind, in my brain, if your whole motto, Alex Golis, is be who you say you are, if you are who you say you are, there is no chance that Baylor competes. Personally, that's just how I feel. Obviously, I'm biased, but there should be no way. The only way that Baylor has a chance is if Byron Brown and Jeremiah Cobb both get hurt in the spring. I mean, in the fall camps, and they just can't play. That's the only way they should be able to compete. If you are who you say you are, and that's your whole motto, that's the whole thing. That's the whole culture you're bringing in is be who you say you are. So if that's how you feel, if that's what you say, I expect it. I'm You're a new head coach. You've made it very clear we're not going to blame the talent here, but you're also not going to put me in the same boat with these other guys. So um, I'm going to give you my respect. I'm going to give you my faith. I'm going to tell you I believe in you until you give me a reason not to. So Uh, Richard was asking about potential Bama starters. I think we both agreed that we think it's going to be Keelan Russell.
Yeah, he said game 1. Game 1, I think the more questions who starts game 2, because I think game 1 both
It
guys
could
are
be
gonna
a
play
half and
because
half.
it's
Right.
ECU, so it could just be you give Austin Mack the start game 1 just to because he's been there longer, he's been in the system. Let him go out there and just get his feet wet. Um, but ultimately, like I think Keelan will be the starter game 2. Because I think the upside's just way too high, and then
You
what he can bring in the RPO game with his quick twitch with the arm, his ability to run the football. Also, Matt can run the ball too, but not as good as Keelan. Um, so game 1, like it could be a toss up who actually gets the start. I'll tell you, if Keelan Russell starting game 1, he's gonna be the starter throughout the whole season. But even if Austin Mack starts game 1, I don't think it should be like a guarantee Austin Mack's going to be the starter because Keelan Russell's going to get his shot and is going to get the opportunity to be the starter week 2.
you said they play ECU week 1?
Yeah,
Just a
yeah,
question. Um, if it was a battle up until this point, why would you not start, Keelan Russell? Because
yeah,
it's lower competition. And if he can't handle ECU, he can't handle anybody else. So that would be my question to
yes,
you. That would be my pushback is
yeah,
if there's a question still there. If there's a question at that point, I feel like you would lean upside and then you go
yeah,
out with an easier start. So you give Keelan the nod just to see what he can do against that level of competition. And if it just doesn't look good, you ride with Austin Mack until Keelan is ready.
yeah. And yeah, I agree. I think Keelan will be the starter week 1, and I don't think he will ever not start a game this season, barring any injuries, of course. Um, the question is consistency versus upside. Austin Mack seems to be more consistent at this point, which makes sense. He's been around longer, played more college football. He should be more consistent. But Keelan very clearly has the upside. Alabama has the 5-game runway leading up until Georgia, which is like they have losable games there. But realistically, if this team like should start off 5-0, so after these 5 games, who would be better if they both played the full games? I think the obvious answer is probably Keelan Russell, which is why I think they will go Keelan Russell. Because by then he should develop the consistency like Austin Mack, while still having the upside of him being Keelan Russell. So I think I agree. Like I think it'll be Keelan Russell week 1, but I do see a world where if it's still neck and neck, Kalen DeBoer just saying, "Hey, look, one guy's gonna get one half, the other guy's gonna get the second half. We're gonna give Austin, a guy who's been here, the chance to just have it first." Um, I think that's more unlikely than Keelan just starting week 1, but it is a possibility.
Yeah, and look, if it is Keelan, you just gotta feel for Austin Mack. Like this was DeBoer's guy.
Yeah,
Mack followed DeBoer from Washington. Um, thought it was gonna be a Ty Simpson situation. What do you know? You got one of the most talented quarterbacks sitting on the bench that it's like, how do I tell that arm no? How do I tell that
yeah.
playmaker that he can't play?
Keelan Russell's literally the highest rated recruit at quarterback ever come into Alabama, and I mean Bryce Young was just here, not but 5 minutes ago. So he's the upside is there.
I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were still in school, when they used to sub in Jalen Milrow, I was like, Jalen Milrow's gonna be something. I don't know if you remember those conversations. I know I talked to
He's
my dad a lot
athletic,
about it, uh,
super athletic.
but I was like, Jalen Milrow, better watch out. Then Jalen Milrow got in and he wasn't all that great. Um, but I think Keelan Russell is what Jalen Milrow looked like to me at first, but ever better in every which way. He's a baller, dude. It sucks to see him at Bama. I'm gonna hate it if he lives up to even half of that potential. Um, but the dude is a baller. Um, he can sling it all over the field. There's not a throw he can't make. And he's athletic enough, or he's athletic with the best of them. And now I'm just sitting there thinking, like, you have Keelan Russell and Ryan Williams. That's kind of scary to everybody else.
If Ryan can catch the football, we good. We got
I
it.
mean, if you run them RPOs, then it's just short
Yeah,
yardage
it
and
opens it
trust
up.
Ryan Williams to make plays after the catch, which that's what he does best. Now you have to deal with Russell's legs and the rack ability of Ryan Williams.
Yeah,
So it is
and
going to be
FY, yeah,
scary. It is going to be a little bit worrying. Um, so all you can hope is that he has those freshman bumps that most freshmen do in the SEC. If you're anybody else other than Bama.
yeah. I mean, inevitably he will. But let's remember, a year ago we were talking about whether or not Ty Simpson, what would he be like? Ty Simpson went on to be a stud. So once again, I think like we say, Kellen DeBoer, he knows quarterbacks. I trust him. I think whoever plays will be phenomenal at quarterback this year. Quarterback will not be an issue this year, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If Alabama does not have a good year, it will be because of injuries or because the O line just sucks again and the running game sucks again, and we get our secondary just gets beat up. Our defensive front can't run, can't stop the run. Like those are going to be the issues. It will not be because of quarterback. But to answer your question, I think it'll be Keelan Russell. I really hope it is just because of the upside and what he can bring to overall help our offense move the ball down the field in some areas we were lacking last year, like the run game.
Oh yeah, I think I've made it clear that I agree.
He's Keelan Russell's not a true freshman. To answer your question, he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
a true freshman
he's a
last year.
redshirt freshman.
Yeah, so he has had a year in the system.
And he
Uh,
played he got a full start against the game before Auburn, correct? Or no, 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 no,
no,
no, no, no, no. He split
he
with
played a lot though.
he split.
Yeah, yeah. So he's gotten some reps
Who was that?
against
Eastern Tennessee?
Eastern Illinois, and then he got some
Okay.
reps versus UL Monroe. But he's been in the system for a year. He was a guy that came in the spring, so he's been there for a spring and then a full season, and now the spring and the summer. So he's been there a while. Um, but he's 19, like you said. He's a redshirt freshman. Um, so he's extremely inexperienced, but so was Ty Simpson last year.
I'm putting myself in
Um,
the shoes that if Auburn would have kept Deuce Knight, how would I feel right now? Because I feel like they're
yeah,
similar in talent level. Um, I don't think that's crazy to say. I think Keelan Russell is more talented, but I think they have similar skill sets and they're in the same conversation of talent level. And I'm just thinking, well, if Auburn had Deuce Knight right now, how would I feel? Um, it's hard to say that I wouldn't feel good, like that I wouldn't feel confident, just knowing the upside of Deuce Knight. So
yeah,
if I know I got somebody just a little bit more talented than that, give me that guy. Give me that guy. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. It really just depends on how quickly he can get into that rhythm in the SEC. Um,
yeah,
because if you start a quarterback too early and he gets blown up and he can't read the defense properly or he's seeing ghosts out there, it's a lot like golfing when you're a quarterback. That confidence plays a major factor. Um, and as much as it pains me to say, just go look at Jackson Arnold. The kid has all the talent in the world. I'm still a Jackson Arnold supporter. I'm excited to see him in UNLV. But you saw what happened. Go look at him when Oklahoma was still in the Big 12 and he got the start for the bowl game. Go look at him at the end of that season. Then you go look at his first year as a starter in the SEC, where his O line couldn't protect anything and all of his wide receivers are hurt. Then you come back to me and tell me that kid who's being told that he should do things to himself that would not allow him to play football anymore, um, and other cruel things that no other human should hear. Um, and then tell him to suit up in a third different offense and be good. And then he transfers to Auburn, so a fourth new offense in 2 years, four offenses in 2 years. So you see what that confidence does. That's the only question with Keelan Russell, in my opinion, is don't start him too early and don't kill that confidence.
yeah. No, Keelan Russell here does remind me a lot of Bryce Young. It's Bryce Young. If Bryce Young was a redshirt freshman when he first started at Alabama. He went on to win the Heisman that year. Um, he was phenomenal, and I'm not expecting Keelan Russell to go win the Heisman this year, but um, it is not crazy for Alabama quarterbacks to come in at this stage, at this age, with this level of experience, with this much hype to come in and immediately be extremely successful. So I'm not too worried about it. I think whoever gets the job is going to do phenomenal. But it is going to take, like, naturally, both of them having no starts, college starts under their belts. Neither one of them do. There's going to be learning curves for whoever's the starting quarterback, inevitably. But
What's
we'll see.
I'm blanking. What's the Alabama offensive coordinator's name?
Ryan Grubb.
Yeah, when you got a play caller like Ryan Grubb, when you have a head coach like Kellen DeBoer, as a quarterback, it's hard for me to believe that you're not going to succeed. Um,
Yeah.
I think Ryan Grubb, who has made some questionable calls, um, in the past, I still think he's one of the best play callers because he calls plays at some of the best times, and it's like as an Auburn fan, I've said it time and time again. I try to be unbiased when speaking about Bama on the podcast. Um, he makes some play calls that I'm like, this guy, knows ball. He's one of the better play callers in all of college football, in my opinion. And then you have Kellen DeBoer, who we both have said multiple times, just knows what he's doing with quarterbacks. Um, yeah, it's hard to fail.
Yeah. Um, let's see. He said Moreau was a lot better college QB than his fan base gave him credit for. I think Alabama fans love Jalen Moreau.
I
But
would
I think they also know.
I would
I
disagree
think they
with that
also know
take.
he was. Yeah, I think they also know he was limited to a degree.
I think he gets more credit than he deserves. Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm a
processing the
Milrow
football. I
hater.
think it's because he's a look, personality wise, Jalen Milrow is a man, and athletic ability wise, he was elite. His deep ball was phenomenal. It was his processing and the short passing game that struggled. I think every Alabama fans knows that. So I would actually say I would actually disagree with both of you. I think
I
his
think he's properly
perception from
rated.
Alabama fans is perfectly rated, at least from the whole. They're going to see outliers here and there. But maybe that's just because that's how I feel about him. So of course I feel like I feel the right way about him, but I also feel like a lot of Alabama fans tend to agree with me on that. Um, but we love Jalen Moreau, Super Bowl champion Jalen Moreau. Never forget.
Whoa. Who's
Um,
we? Who's we? Who's we?
what do you what do you mean?
And you said we love Jalen Murray. I just have to make sure that I'm not in this we. Like,
Well, okay, well, no, we as in Alabama fans.
yeah. Just clarify. Just
But
clarify.
we can admit Jalen Moreau is a very charismatic dude. And he's fun to listen to talk. Um, But then let's see, he went on to say, this year I think Auburn has a more solid QB. Only time will tell. Bru Byron Brown's unproven at the SEC level. Whoever Alabama starts is going to be unproven. The guy who's at Alabama probably is going to be set up in a better position, so that could kind of cloudy some things up. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I disagree, but I'm biased. Anderson probably disagrees, but he's biased. You disagree, you're probably biased. We'll see. Do you have anything to say about that?
Um, from an unbiased point, because I would be biased and say I would agree with his take. From an unbiased point, I do think it goes back to that confidence thing. Whatever quarterback can get their confidence the highest quicker, I think that's who has the better season.
Fair
If
enough.
Auburn beats Florida in, I'm not going to say a dominant fashion, but they basically do what they want on offense. I don't think Keelan Russell could catch up to what Byron Brown will project to be. But if Florida loses and it looks bad, and Keelan Russell just starts running through teams, in the even if it's the weaker part of the schedule, and then he has a good game against Georgia, which will be their first like super real test. Um,
Yeah.
then I think Keelan Russell will probably end up having a better season.
Yeah. It'll boil down to, I mean, Keelan probably has the higher upside, but in terms of base where we're sitting at, um, it's definitely Byron Brown where we sit right now. But
I don't know.
if you look at what Keelan can be, I mean, Keelan's the highest rated recruit in the history of Alabama, the most successful college program in the history
I
of college
say
football.
you're good from that point, sure, but from a statistical point, if Byron were to even replicate what he did last year, it would kind of be hard for Keelan Russell to top that. I'm not saying he
Well,
will.
yeah,
I
right.
don't think he would. I don't think he will at the SEC. But if he were to, which I believe is now Byram's ceiling because we've already seen it. Um, I think when it goes to top end, who will be better when it's all said and done? Just guessing off ceiling. I think they go hand in hand. I would like to think that
Yeah,
they
they're
are
not too they're
comparable.
not too far off. They're not too far off. But well, like I said, only time will tell. Let's see. He said, "I wish Deuce would have stayed one more year behind Brown because next year he could have been great." I agree. Um,
I think Deuce
correct me if I'm wrong.
in the my bad. You have
Correct me if I'm wrong. Byron Brown does not have another year.
no. This is
This would
his
be his
final
last.
year of
Okay,
Alabama.
so yes, it would be Deuce Knight's job next year, which is funny because Deuce Knight left Ole Miss to get to play because he thought Trinidad was going to be gone,
Yeah.
and now that's just not going to be the case. So it's kind of funny how that worked out. I agree. I think he would have been really good in Golish's system. I think that's what you're going to say, so I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But overall, I would just say I agree.
I think he'd be the perfect quarterback for a veer and shoot offense. Um
Yeah.
he's super quick, super athletic, and he can throw the deep ball with the best of them. Um
Mm.
I would have loved to see it in a veer and shoot offense. Um what kind of philosophy they take over there at Ole Miss, who knows? Um but I'm sure he doesn't regret what the decision he's made. He's still back home. You know, he made it very clear over his time at Auburn that there was always a chance he was leaving, and he always teased and he always played around and made it seem like, "Oh, I'm done with this. Never mind, I'm coming back. Oh, I'm done with this. Never mind." So as much as I love Deuce as a prospect, and I think he'll be a great quarterback, I do think he was a distraction at some point, and he just wanted to go home to Mississippi, which is he has every right to do so. So good luck to him. He just will not be an Auburn quarterback. And I will say, obviously, he hasn't done anything in the SEC level yet. But just from all the practice film that I've seen, Auburn's backup quarterback is Tristan Tia. I don't know if he'll be the starter next year. I don't know if we go out and get another quarterback from the portal. I don't know. But from everything I've seen in practice and from everything that I've heard about Tristan Tia, I really like Tristan Tia, and I would love to see him even get a shot. He was a I think he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, a 3-star recruit in the portal. Um, but I think he looks exciting. I think he looks fun. Um, he kind of gives me Ty Simpson vibes. A good throw of the football. I believe he's a lefty. A good throw of the football, a good decision maker. He's a leader in every aspect. Um, from what I heard, and he loves the process. From what I've heard from his teammates, and from people around him. So Deuce is gone. I don't think Tristan Tia is anywhere near the talent level. But if Tristan Tia gets a shot, I would be happy. I'm loving everything I'm hearing from him.
Yeah, and with the era of the transfer portal, you never know who could be the Auburn quarterback next year. Same thing with
Right.
Alabama. Alabama, there's a little bit more certainty because Keelan will play another year of college football. Whether or not that
Hmm.
be at Alabama or not, who knows? I think it will be, but we'll see. And not to mention Alabama has like 8 5 stars behind him or something like that because that's the only thing we recruit nowadays as quarterbacks. I don't know. But with Auburn, there is a little bit more uncertainty as there is everywhere else in college football, just because with the transfer portal day and age. So we'll see. Um, I have not obviously I don't pay attention to Auburn like you do, so I have had no idea who that is. I haven't seen anything about him. But I also know Alex Golish can coach quarterbacks, and take with that what you will. Whoever he puts out there, if Auburn's losing football games, unlike during the Hugh Freeze era, it won't be because of bad quarterback play. At least I wouldn't think so.
That's definitely
So
that's definitely the
we'll
hope.
see.
I'll say this
Yeah.
about
Same
Tristan
thing with
Tia. You've heard me rave from all the way back to week 1 of last season about the kid named Byron Brown. You've heard me say it. I told you after watching them beat up on Boise State, I said, USF's got a dog. I don't know if you remember me saying that, but
mhm.
I remember texting you something along them lines like, this is my team this year. I'm following this team just to, cheer for an American Conference team, cheer for another team other than Auburn. Um, I don't think Tristan Teal is as talented as Byron Brown. I'm ready to see Tristan Teal in this offense. That should let you know what you need to know.
Yeah.
I think he's Hawaiian. He went to
Sound
Oregon
like it.
State. Um, didn't play much last year, I don't believe. Um, I think he was a red shirt. I think he's a redshirt freshman right now. I could be
Yeah.
wrong on that. He could be a redshirt sophomore. Um, but that's just to let you know what I think of him.
So look, he's a left-handed quarterback from Hawaii who can sling the ball. That screams Tua comparisons. Um, that describes Tua to a T. Probably less
I didn't say
talented than
that.
Tua coming out of high school. Tua was him in
Oh yeah,
college.
yeah, for sure. He's not.
If Tua could have stayed healthy in college, not only would he have won another national championship, he probably would have won a Heisman Trophy. But he could not stay healthy. Same thing in the pros. Sucks. It's unfortunate how that goes. Um, but hey, left-handed dude from Hawaii who can sling the rock. Sounds like somebody
Let
who
me let me
people
just
in the
double
state of
check
Alabama
that.
pretty familiar with. His name sounds like Polynesian, so just a Tia.
Tristan Tia. Trying to make sure he's from California, so I'm wrong. I think he has Hawaiian descent.
Yeah, he definitely does. You could tell by looking at his picture.
And then just to check that he's a lefty. No, he's right-handed. Then it's our other quarterback. I just know there's a lefty in our quarterback room, so he's
Oh
right-handed.
yeah.
Um, but still, I've everything that I've heard and seen from Tristan Tia, he's got a really good throwing motion. Um, he looked good at A Day, which obviously doesn't say much, but you know, just heard a lot of good things, and I'm excited to see him. I think he's got a lot of potential, and he's very slept on. Nobody talks about Tristan Tia because he's a backup and he came from Oregon State.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll see. We'll see. He'll get a shot next year, probably, assuming he doesn't transfer, which you never know. Never know.
I don't think he would. I think he came here knowing that Byron would be the starter and that next year
Yeah.
he would probably get the reins.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll see.
but I have nothing else unless Richard has any more questions to drop in the chat. Unless you do.
Uh, not college football related, so we'll change the subject just for a second here. I know you're a
Uh,
Buccaneers fans.
Before you say that, Richard,
Mm,
as of right now in the off season, we're streaming every other Monday. So come back not next Monday, but the Monday after that. And then when the football season starts, we'll be doing it every Monday. So I appreciate you tuning in, and always feel free to come back and comment, man. We appreciate the interaction.
Yeah, we really do for sure. Um, but you're a Buccaneers fan. I'm sure you saw the news. Vita Vea, stud defensive tackle, I think, for the Bucks, has requested a trade. Have no idea whether or not that will actually happen or what are some potential suitors.
I did
What
not
do you
see
think?
that.
Oh, breaking news: Vita Vea has requested a trade from the Buccaneers. Anderson, react.
Um, you know, after the Mike Evans thing kind of fell through, number one, look, I don't care how much you got to pay him. Mike Evans is one of the greatest Buccaneers of all time. Don't let him walk. He needs to retire a buck.
Yeah.
I don't care what you have to do to get him to stay. You have to get him to stay. So after they let him walk, I kind of figured that it would be a down year and some rebuilding things would be happening. So it's not the biggest surprise. Also with the retiring of Levante David, um, and then Chris Godwin always hurt, so you can't really rely on him to be a true wide receiver one. So now you're asking Emeka Igbuka to come in and be their wide receiver one, which he has the talent to do. I'm not saying he can't, but you have a lot of new questions. A lot of people are hurt. You had a lot of injuries last year at the offensive line position. Um, Mike Evans walked away for free, basically. Um, I kind of had a feeling it would be rebuilding. So getting the Vita Vea contract off at his age would be a good move for the Buccaneers at this current moment. I've been very vocal that, I'm not a fan of their head coach. I wish they would change things around. Um, I thought that they should have gave it to Byron Leftwich if they were going to hire from within when they did do that process after Bruce Arians retired. They did not. Um, so I don't have many thoughts. Just that it doesn't surprise me. After the Mike Evans thing, and kind of having a feeling that it would be down year and rebuilding things would be happening. Um, but they're great at drafting on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm sure that there's some hidden gem on the roster that's just waiting to shine. Feel bad for Baker though.
Yeah.
I always thought that Baker should have got his true run. The Super Bowl, at least just fight for it, not necessarily be in it, but put up a true fight. Um, I feel really bad because last year, halfway through the year, I was really high. I was really high on Baker Mayfield in the MVP conversation because he looked that good. He was balling out. Every week, he would save them. And in the final possession, he would find a way to get it done. And then injuries happened. And then it kind of just all fell apart from there. And then now here we are. So not surprising, disappointing, hurt for my man Baker. Love the Bake Show, but you know he can only do what he's doing for so long. Um, and I would say that he's on the back nine of his career. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. What I'll say is, look, Baker finally got his chance after being in purgatory. He went from Cleveland to Carolina, and then finally got a shot at LA, and then now he's in Tampa Bay, and it's kind of he's played really good. It's made me become a fan of Baker Mayfield, the person and the player. I don't know if you have Netflix, but they have the quarterback series. He's on it this year, so if you're a Baker fan, definitely go tune into that. Haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, but I'm definitely going to. Um, but it's made me a fan of Baker, and it kind of sucks like now that it's kind of unraveling, especially now that, like you said, he is probably on the back nine of his career. Um, Especially because he does rely a lot on being able to move around a little bit and his physicality and his hard running. Usually, those type of quarterbacks don't play as long as the Aaron Rodgers of the world. Um, so I do feel for him, but this to me does signify probably time to rebuild. Um, I think you need to try to get either really young assets that are promising, along with draft capital in replacement for Vita Vea. Probably send them to somebody who is a championship contender, who thinks they are a Vita Vea away from winning a championship, and you just completely get every bit of their young assets and draft capital. Like that's just kind of what you have to do. Um, I kind of agree the same for like a TJ Watt. I know there was some rumors that the Steelers could end up trading him. Same thing. If you're going to trade him, go get young guys. Go get draft capital. What
The Steelers are considering trading TJ Watt.
they were, they were in a contract dispute about a year ago
Okay,
now.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes
yeah.
more sense.
And so there was some rumor that they might trade him instead of giving him a big contract, but they give him the big contract, because they're trying to get him to retire a Steeler. But I
Which
think
well
like
deserved.
same situation. Yeah, same situation. Like, go get some pieces because the team is not built to win now. and it's not going to be post Vita Vea trade. So at least go get some pieces to where we can say 5 years from now, maybe we're getting there. So,
Look,
but we'll
all
see.
I'm
Sorry to break
saying,
the news to you.
there is a team out there that's been buying in a lot more than any other team on trying to win their chip. Just saying, you find a way to get Vita Vea over there in L.A. Aaron Donald comes out of retirement. Miles Garrett, Vita Vea, and Aaron Donald. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I just don't know
That's
what they would
completely
send.
unrealistic, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know what they would send because they did. This would have to been if it was before the
Yeah, they
draft
they had they
and they
traded
could
all their
throw in
stuff
a
with
draft pick.
Hurst
Yeah.
to get Garrett.
But also, like, I do think there's some real talk with Aaron Donald coming back. I saw something on the TV
Yeah,
about that
I've seen
today.
a lot of Aaron Donald talk.
That was a funny haha joke. Wait a second. Hold up now. This
I
could be real.
saw I saw a quote. It's not. This isn't going to be verbatim. It's off the top of my head. But I saw a quote where Sean McVay said, "You know, he is practicing there. He is there,
Yeah.
and if he considers, there are very serious conversations to be had."
Yeah.
So Sean McVay has said he tells me the word and he's here.
Yeah.
That's what I
Pretty
understood from
much.
Sean McVay. Um,
Pretty much.
I'm scared for the rest of the league. That's I don't care if he was 45 coming out of retirement. Looking the way that he looks and knowing where he was when he left, phew, phew, as a
Yeah.
dangerous man. He
Look,
also
man.
said, I don't know if you heard this, but he also said, Aaron Donald said, "This is the best I've felt in years. This is the
Yeah.
healthiest that I've felt. This is the best my body has felt. This is the strongest that I've felt in a long time." So hearing that from a guy like him is terrifying.
Look, you think Alabama fans are insufferable with Jalen Morrow having won the Super Bowl as a backup? Man, back to back years. Alabama quarterbacks as rookies winning Super Bowls, albeit as backups. Boy,
That'd be
man,
crazy.
y'all are gonna. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be hilarious. I mean, obviously, I hope the Steelers win a Super Bowl, but let's be real. Um, outside of that, I don't mind seeing the Rams win. I don't mind at all.
When it comes to NFL, obviously I'm a Bucks fan.
Yeah,
I just care about the competition. I care about
right.
parity. I want to see good games. I want to see competition, and that's not just in the playoffs, but that's throughout the entire season. Um,
Yeah,
which probably is why I was so high on the MVP for Baker last year because they were in a close game every game for like 7 weeks.
yeah.
But um, I'm just a football fan when it comes to watching the NFL. So we'll see. We'll see. Since we're talking about NFL, is there any surprise rookie that you think is going to pop off this year, or um,
Ooh,
anybody you
yeah. I
think
would
that'll be a
say
bust?
biasly, I would say Jeremy Bernard is gonna pop off, but he's in a really loaded wide receiver room this year because he got Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf. But I do think Jeremy's gonna be really, really good. Outside of that, rookies are going to make an immediate impact. Jadarian Price, I think he was the last pick of the first round, went to the Seahawks. Him and Jeremiah Love, both Notre Dame teammates, the only two running backs to go in the first round. Jeremiah Love, obviously top five pick, highest paid running back in the league as a rookie. Um, he gets all the attention. I think Jadarian Price for the Seahawks in that system with his skill level, which is elite skill level, and by the way, just not Jeremiah Love in college, but he's elite. Some people can say he's probably the more NFL ready back. We'll see. I think that guy is going to be a stud. Year one, I think he's going to be phenomenal. He will be sharing reps with another guy though. That's the only thing holding him back. But in terms of like production with the snaps he's getting, I think he's going to have a really good year.
Unexpected pop off for me, and I can't. I'm just saying a lot of things that I don't think I would have said 3 months ago, and I hate saying them. I hate saying these things. But I think Carson Beck might surprise a lot of people. I'm a
Hmm.
Carson Beck hater. I don't like Carson Beck. I don't think he's the best talent. I don't think he's the best thrower of the football. Um, but look, number one, let me just say this: there's two people I watch a lot that if they're high on you, I'm high on you, and that's Brooks Austin. I don't know if you watch a lot of Brooks Austin. He does a lot of film
Hey,
breakdowns.
I know the name. Yeah, I know the
Um,
name.
yeah, he's called the Film Guy on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
And then John Gruden, and both of those guys are pretty high on Carson Beck. Um, and when you think about the situation over there in Arizona, you have a Marvin Harrison. They don't have a true quarterback one. They don't know where their team is going. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of questions. Um, I think somewhere halfway through the season, he's going to get a shot. He has nothing to lose. Marvin Harrison's just wanting the ball. You throw it to Marvin Harrison, he's going to make a play. I still believe in Marvin Harrison. And then they got Jeremiah Love, which I will say I saw a clip from their OC say he's definitely a rookie, and talk about James Conner more than he talked about Jeremiah Love. I don't know how much you look into that. Um, but look, you got a guy like Jeremiah Love, who I think is going to be good no matter what. You got a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. You got a guy like Trey McBride. You put a guy with Carson Beck's potential in there. Um, I think you know he can at least reach half of that. So I think he could surprise a lot of people by winning over that quarterback room somewhere halfway through the season, and maybe pulling out some games that they wouldn't have a year ago.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree, actually. One thing I will say about Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm not completely out on him, but I am like saying, "Hey, what are we doing? When are you going to step up?" Because he's kind of been a bit of a diva with him not wanting to sign certain EA deals and jersey deals, NFLPA deals, because he thinks he's worth more, which is understandable. I'm all for guys like wanting their worth by all means, but like we need production on the
Yeah,
field.
at some point it has to be
Um,
proven.
it's gotta you gotta put out because you're not at EA games. You're not able to sell your jerseys. I don't know if they got that worked out yet or not, but you put up a big fight with that, and then Cardinals fans, a lot of them are saying they're done with Marvin Harrison. They're tired of him. I'm not ready to give up on him yet because he is extremely talented. But when are we gonna see it? Like you were as highly, especially because you've had a little bit of diva mentality coming into the league. So we'll see. But he's got to put it together.
Your audio did cut out like a little bit through there.
Okay. All I'm saying is, look, he has a bit of a diva
Yeah,
mentality. He's got to put it together. Which diva mentality is okay. He's a wide receiver. That's very common.
yeah, but it's a little bit
But
it's a little bit more
yeah,
than normal.
you
He's
gotta
pushing it.
you gotta at least you gotta have some level of production before you get that right.
My
Um,
my take on Marvin Harrison, yes, he's a diva. I think he's more of a diva than he should be at the current moment. But as far as production goes, I see it a lot as similarities to Kyle Pitts. You get this
mm,
guy that's highly potential, and then the offense isn't running offense for him. You know,
yeah,
a lot of the times when Kyle Pitts first got to Atlanta, they put him in the slot. Run him at tight end. He's a tight end. Just because he ran slide at Florida doesn't mean he can run slide in the NFL. So there has to be more plays for Marvin Harrison, so Marvin Harrison can be Marvin Harrison. And I do think that has a lot to do with their current OC. That Arizona Cardinals fans have also said that they're tired of. But there's a lot of things going on in Arizona. Like I saw a clip the other day where Trey McBride said Arizona fans just don't exist. They're not in Arizona. How do you say
yeah,
that? Which I understand it. My uncle coached there. So I understand to a certain extent, like it is weird. They're a different fan base. They're not as big as other NFL's fan bases. So I understand what he's saying, but there's a lot of weird things going on over there at Arizona, and so I just feel like at some point in time, something's got to break.
yeah,
I think maybe the OC or something will not be there at some point during the season. And maybe that will open up new opportunities for different players such as Marvin Harrison.
yeah. I don't know if you saw the post I sent you, but at least one thing Arizona Cardinal fans do have to look forward to is that Trey McBride is a 99 overall in Madden this year, the only 99 overall tight end in the game. Um,
Hey, I can't hate on
Props
him.
to him. Props to him. I personally think there's a few too many 99 overalls in this game
Yeah, I
compared
remember
to what there
reading that.
realistically is in the NFL. Maybe not by like I respect to Trey McBride 99.
Well,
I'd maybe go just a couple lower 97, 98, but 99 that should be reserved for the elite of the elite. And he could be there. He certainly could.
mhm.
I think I need to see like one more season of like elite performance for him to be 99 in Madden.
Well, it's really just it's been video game overall inflation. If you're a viewer
Yeah,
and you don't care about it, I'm sorry, but I play the games. Garrett plays the games, so there has just been an obvious inflation in overalls from like for example, I probably played 2K the most out of any other sporting game. Um, you go look at 2K16, 2K17, and then you look at today, and now you got guys like Quentin Grimes, 84,
yeah,
85, 86 overall. When a guy like Quentin Grimes in 2K16, 2K17 would be like a 78 max, right?
yeah.
So, and then that carries over to things like Madden. I remember in the similar years, Madden 19, Madden 20, there was like 399 overalls. And it'd be like Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, who was on the cover of Madden 19, and then one other person that probably like an Aaron Donald
Aaron
that
Darnold, yeah,
that like obviously deserved it. So, and then you look
yeah.
at now, and I didn't count how many it was, but a
It was like
lot.
8 or 9 of them, seriously.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not every team should have a 90 overall, just a
Yeah.
90. Let alone now you're giving out 9 to 10 99s. So it is crazy. Um, but the inflation in video games is wild. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's not that big of a deal when you talk about what we talk about
Yeah.
on this podcast. But I'm with you.
I
Well,
get it.
maybe a little bit
I
too
get
many.
it. Look, I'm a marketing major. I get it. They want to sell their game. And it's a lot easier to sell your game when you have high overall players. So I get it.
I mean, especially if you're a fan of a team like the Arizona
Yeah.
Cardinals, you're like, whoa, Trey McBride, 99 overall. I can't wait to get to use him in the game and beat
Yeah.
my friends with my favorite player in the NFL. That's a 99 overall.
Yeah.
So I get
Fair
it.
enough.
But
Makes sense.
you know, that's why you know I talk a lot about EA. They used to have cards or players in the game that were, he might be a 68 overall, but in real life, he's one of the fastest players in the NFL. So he's got 96 speed. Now,
Yeah.
if you're a 68 overall, you best believe you're not having a higher speed than somebody who it definitely isn't as fast in real life, but he's an 86 overall in the game. So
Yeah.
it's really weird. EA, they're a money grab, they're a money scam. Um,
Yeah.
that's all they want. That's all they're hungry.
Like they said they fixed it for this college football game that like speed isn't the only defining attribute towards being like a 4 or 5 star. But I see some correlation. It's definitely not perfect still, but whatever.
Yeah, and me and you both play a lot of college football, so we both understand how that whole thing goes and how they lie and they do certain things that just kind of take the fun out of the game for a true
Yeah.
enjoyer.
Mhm. Exactly.
I remember
I agree.
watching a Josh Pate podcast. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was talking about the principles of when he started. His whole brand
Mhm.
was our show, our brand is at its best when we're making less money.
Yeah.
Like obviously, you might be if you're more of a casual fan or more of just, you know, a guy who doesn't look at the grand scheme of things, it is a little confusing. But when he says stuff like that, you think about college football, that's what he covers. When every week matters, that's when the show is best and most enjoyable for him to make.
Yeah.
But not every fan is going to watch every week because they don't care that much. But then you add a 2014 playoff and everybody's going to watch all of that, and he's going to make more money off of it because everybody's watching that, and there's more playoff games, but the regular season is watered down, like you said. So then you take that and you look at a company like EA, and it's like, yeah, they can make less money and give it to the people who really enjoy the game for what it is. And you see something like Road to Glory and Dynasty, which is a sandbox mode, which is a sandbox meaning you do what you want because it's your world, what you create, what you want to do. That's what it's supposed to be. That's the purpose. And then you put in things like pay to win for an offline sandbox mode, and it's like, yeah, you're making more money, but that doesn't mean you're making a better product.
Yeah,
So
right.
it just I use Josh Payton as example because that can go with a lot of things in life. And
True.
the best product isn't always when you're making the most money. You're not gonna love your life because the job that you're working pays you the most money. Oftentimes, people take pay cuts to do what they enjoy. I took a pay cut to move where I am. I will probably take another pay cut in the future to do something that I actually enjoy doing rather than working in the environment that I work now. Um,
Yeah,
and I'm sure you would do the same. I mean, money isn't everything, so
true.
it's how it works. And shout out Josh Pate.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the good ones. One of the people like I would strive to be like if I were to like if we were to blow up in this industry or whatever. Like I would want to be more
Would
like
you
him than say other people.
would you ever strive to be like a person like Joel Klepp? Just curious.
Okay, see, look, I know I joke that I hate Joel Klatt. Let me get this straight. I don't actually hate Joel Klatt. I just
Okay.
think it's funny to say. Um, I can appreciate what Joel Klatt does. I disagree with him on a lot of things, but like
To be
overall, like
to be fair, I do
I can
watch some of his
appreciate.
film breakdowns.
I do too, man.
So
I watch all of his videos. I watch like the vast majority of his videos, and I appreciate him as a game caller. I disagree with him on some things, but like overall, like I just like joking that I hate Joel Klatt. I don't actually hate Joel Klatt.
okay,
I watch all of his stuff, so yes, I wouldn't mind being like a Joel Klatt. I'd say that.
okay. Well, I don't think we have anything else. We've kind of talked a little bit here and a little bit there. Do you have any final crazy takes? I mean, LeBron to the Sixers, it's over. And that's
Yeah.
that's all I got to say. As a LeBron fan, as a LeBron, that's my goat. I don't care to talk about it much.
Look, I'll say what the media is not saying because it's the truth, and the media doesn't like telling the truth. They like spreading lies. Simply put, LeBron clearly just wanted to go play with LeBaron Fallon. It's very obvious.
Wait,
That's
wait, wait,
just what
wait,
happened.
because my insiders are telling me he just wanted to go play with Janai Broom.
LeBron said he wanted to go play with the player LeBaron Fallon, but he wanted to go to. But another reason why he wanted to go to the 76ers was so he could help Janai Broom grow hair back, like LeBron has so many times, because Janai Broom has a monstrosity on his head.
He does have that. I'll let you have that one right there. He's gonna go tell Janai Broom to just let it go. It's better to just let it go.
I give him his secrets, man. LeBron, he's gone bald like 8 different times, so
Yeah, I don't
he got
think
a
that's
full
a
head
good
of
look
hair.
for LeBron. I'd rather just go bald
No,
and get it over with.
yeah, yeah. That is one thing that people love making fun of LeBron for is the bald spots over the years. But it's pretty funny.
Um, Outside of that, I think that's it. I think that's everything.
Yeah, it was a good episode. Really good episode. Good to be
Uh,
getting back in the swing of things.
Shout out Nick Saban, just because he's not an
Yeah,
Alabama coach
just
no
cause.
more, and I can talk about him.
Yeah, fair enough. There is right there.
Yeah.
But
I bet that
dang, I
guy
got
in
so
that
many
picture
goats,
right
dude.
there. Bet that guy in that picture right there that you just pointed to.
Mm,
Bet he misses Louisiana.
I bet he does not.
I bet he
I bet he
missed
loves Alabama.
Louisiana when he was holding that up. That's his biggest regret. You know.
Nah. His biggest regret was how it went down. Was the fact that he had to, not necessarily that he left LSU itself. I think he's okay with it. Goat, goat, goat. Goats. Just full of goats. Yeah.
See that shirt up there? Still don't got mine.
Yeah. Still don't got
It's
yours? Well, I got
still
the
don't got
fake one. Well, it's real, but it's not like the main one, you know.
mine.
I
When it
got the
comes, when it
non-bedazzled one.
comes, the very next episode, I'll have it on.
Yeah. I'm
That's
repping it
a
till
Andy
football season.
guarantee.
Yeah,
What
I'm
you gonna
repping it
put
till
up there?
football season. Keeping it up. Uh, might put the Kobe jersey back. I also might put my Calvin Ridley jersey. Probably be the Kobe jersey, to be honest.
Okay. Well,
Just
I
cause,
don't have
just cause,
any background. I have
yeah.
I have my blackout curtains. That's what I got. That's what you get to see.
Fair enough.
Um, but hey, I think that's all we got. Um, I'm gonna end this stream and go make a custom playbook on college football 27. That's what I'm gonna
Nice. Sweet.
do. So we appreciate you if you listen. We appreciate you if you're a new chatter. So that's always a good experience. Um, like we said, during the off season, we're doing every other week. So we'll be back not next Monday, but the Monday after. Um, when we come back, I'll tell you all about how good the Spider-Man movie was. I already got my tickets, so can't wait. But until then, we appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you for listening whenever, wherever, and however you watch this episode of the WarTide podcast. And with that being said,